Hi folks, Dave at Creative Craft House. Let's look at the solution to this crystal snake, a rather difficult puzzle. Let's do some analysis first. Always a good thing to do when starting a puzzle. Let's notice that it is concentric along all the axes. Let's call this, in traditional coordinate system, let's call the vertical axis the Z, this horizontal axis the X, and this horizontal axis the Y. And we will notice that it is 7 unit blocks in length along each axis, calling each one of these 1 unit block. We will notice that there are these white blocks on all corners in this position as we look at the puzzle. So there's some things we can see quickly from the outside of the puzzle. Now let's look at the elongated puzzle. Now, what can we determine from this? Well, one thing we can see is that there is one long straight section here that will remain straight. It does twist here, but it will remain straight, and it is 7 unit blocks long. That must be one of the main axes of the puzzles. Now, if that's the z-axis, doesn't have to be, but it could be the z-axis, we will note that there are also some other blocks that are 3 unit blocks long, like this one here. And in fact, there are 4 of them. There's one here, there's one here, there's one down there, and there's one more someplace in there. Well, 3 unit blocks must be positioned along the center of this axis here, because the longest length we can have on either side of it is 3. 3 plus 1 plus 3 equals 7, the total length of the axes. So therefore we know that those four blocks must be positioned jutting out on each of the axes. So that's some good information. Now I'm going to try to help you get started on this puzzle. The exact moves that you'll make will be a bit different, because the twisting of this can be in so many different directions, and your starting points or intermediate points will be different, but your goals will be the same. Also, be wary. Don't try to turn this thing in directions that the string doesn't want to turn. Apply enough force. There are some big moment arms here, and it could break. But if you're careful and just turn it in directions that it wants to turn, you shouldn't have any trouble. Here's the starting point for this thing. And I'm going to call the big axis, the long axis, the z-axis. And you've got to get to a point, as a starting point, where it looks something like this. Use the block here with the little dot, which is actually where the string starts, and there's a wood peg in there to hold it in place. And you need to get it looking, the puzzle looking like this as a starting point. Okay, I'm going to give you some various views of that. Here's our long axis, and you want to get it looking like that. All right. Now here's the general approach that we're going to use. We are going to start to build those 3 block arms jutting out, starting with the one in the back. If this is the positive x-axis, positive y-axis rather, it would be the negative y-axis we're going to build first. Then we're going to come around the corner here and build the axis jutting out that way, which I would call the negative x. Then come out this way, which I would call the positive y, and then come out this way, which I would call the positive x. Okay? And all that work, by the way, is going to be done on the top half of the puzzle. Okay? Where this is the top here. Okay? So that's the general strategy that we're going to take. It could take some effort to get it into those positions. Now I've kind of cheated a little bit just to give you a quicker idea what's got to happen. Now the first step is after I've got this in position, the next step is to get to this position here, and you'll notice that I'm flat. Here's my z-axis going up and down. The only block sticking out is that one with a little dot on it, and it's coming flat here, shooting out the back of the y-axis. So that's in place. Now I've got to come and put the 3 block unit into position in the center over here. I've got my little keys here, and a little white block's got to go in the corner, so that can be helpful. So I'm going to try to manipulate that to get it into position Let's see here. Now your moves will probably be different because your position of your individual blocks will be different. This is not at all obvious. There we go. I think I got it. Alright. Now I've got the back axis in place. Okay, that 3-block unit jutting out from the center of the back. Here's my reference. Here's my reference point, jutting out from the back and jutting out from this side. And it's in place now. Now I've got to move to the front portion and get that into place. Okay, I'm going to pause for just a second. Okay, now once you've got that back side in, we've got to go over and get this side over here. All right, and I've done that. The exact steps you take will be different. Once you've got that step, you've got to come over and get this side over here, twisting and turning. Once you've got that side with the 3-block unit jutting out from the center, we got one 3-block unit left right here. It's going to have to come out from the center there. And let's see if I can do that. There we go. Alright. Now I've got my 4 sides built. And you notice how I worked on the top half? If that's the top. You notice I work on the top half of the unit entirely. The only thing sticking down is the y-axis itself and this little 3-block unit, which we started with initially when we put in the back side. Now the rest of it is fairly straightforward. What I'm going to be doing is taking the tail portion here and wrapping it around this lower block. And the pieces will kind of fall into place fairly straightforwardly. Alright, so I hope this helps. It is a tricky puzzle. It does take some time to figure this thing out, and I hope this has helped.